I've been having a look through my DVD collection to find some hidden gems amongst the more obviously great films and TV series. I've pulled out 10 selections, 8 of which are films and the other 2 are TV series. These are films and shows that I've really enjoyed for all sorts of reasons. First up, The Dish. It follows the story of a huge satellite dish close to a sheep farming community in Australia. It's been chosen to beam the live footage when man first steps on the moon in July of 1969. Scientist Cliff Buxton and his teams have to get the dish through a series of problems to enable this once-in-a-lifetime event to be broadcast to the world. He's got an eccentric crew who are being watched over by a NASA representative who can't seem to understand their methods, especially as he likes everything done by the book. The community of the local town are excited about it and having their own events to celebrate, and they've got distinguished American guests coming as well. Now, it's a really gentle but funny film that's based on the true story of what happened. I never get tired of seeing the film, and it always leaves me with a warm glow. Keeping with the space theme is 1978's Capricorn I. With an excellent cast, the film is about the first manned flight to Mars. Just before the takeoff, the astronauts are called out of the spaceship as the NASA team have discovered problems, but the authorities have plotted a fake mission. The launch still happens and the astronauts are taken to a building that has a mock-up of the landing site and the module. They are then forced to go through the events that would have taken place, but on a film set. The world is watching, thinking it's happening, but it's all fake. It's only when the capsule from the real rocket burns up in re-entry that the astronauts realise they're expendable. What follows is not necessarily plausible, but it makes for a great watch. 1988's Without a Clue stars Michael Caine and Ben Kingsley as Sherlock Holmes and Dr. Watson. The film's built on the premise that Sherlock Holmes is a creation of Dr. Watson, who's forced to hire a second-rate actor to play the now famous and sought-after detective. Michael Caine plays the drunken actor who gets on Dr. Watson's nerves. In the end, Dr. Watson tries to go it alone and it doesn't fare well for him, so he has to bring back the Sherlock Holmes character. The film has a lot of laughs and tips the image that we have of Sherlock Holmes on its head. When I first saw it, it was so different and had me laughing out loud throughout the film. The first of the TV series I wanted to tell you about is the Brazilian series City of Men from 2002. It follows 2 teenage best friends from a notorious Rio slum as they grow up surrounded by poverty and crime. They find out about their father's pasts and it sort of breaks their friendship. One gets drawn into a life of crime whilst the other tries to save his friend. It's a story of survival in a city where growing up itself is a challenge as they're surrounded by poverty and the temptation of money from the drug trade. Although it's a grim series, the storytelling is really good and it shows the realism of life of the people living in the favelas. The next film couldn't be more different. From 1994, Il Postino, The Postman, is just lovely. It tells the story of an unlikely friendship between Chilean poet Pablo Neruda and a simple Italian man who delivers the post. It's a foreign language film, but it doesn't take away from the fact that it is just beautiful. The postman, Mario, is a shy man who falls in love with a beautiful woman, but he thinks she's out of his league. He enlists the help of Pablo Neruda to help him win the woman's heart. And in the course of his journey, he not only learns to love poetry, but discovers the man that he really is. The courtship is sometimes tender and sometimes really funny. It's a story that tells of how one person can affect another, no matter how different their life experiences are. The story is gentle and moves along, drawing you in, and it is just lovely. Although it's really sad to learn that the actor who played the postman, Massimo Troisi, died from a heart attack just 12 hours after they finished shooting. Next up, we go from an Italian film to a French one. Le Château de ma Mère, My Mother's Castle. The year is 1900 and Marcel, a young boy, and his family have to leave their cottage in Provence. However, they come back to it at Christmas and Easter, and within a short while they end up returning each weekend. To get to the cottage, it entails a walk of 5 miles as the final part of their journey. Now, Marcel's father is a teacher, and with the help of one of his ex-pupils, they're able to take a shortcut along the canal, making the trek just 1 mile, even though it takes them through the private backyards of some very eccentric people. On one of those breaks in Provence, Marcel meets Isabelle, a beautiful but conceited girl, and in his childlike way, he tries to woo her. As the story plays out, we're left with a very poignant end to the film. It's a really lovely story. Next up is a documentary called A Great Day in Harlem. In August of 1958, in front of a Harlem brownstone building, photographer Art Cain assembled 57 of the greatest jazz stars of all time and took a group photo of them. Narrated by Quincy Jones, this documentary looks at the lives of the musicians that turned up that day to be in the photo. There are interviews with 30 jazz greats, there's home movies and rare footage of performances. Not only that, but there's a bonus disc of nearly 3 hours of video profiles for all the musicians in the photo. If you like jazz, this film is a must-see. Now for something really different. From 1982 comes a film with no real plot and no actors. Coan Scoty is a remarkable film. It means life out of balance, and the photography in it is excellent. With a soundtrack by Philip Glass, it contrasts the beauty of nature with the continuous hum of urban life. The imagery is as breathtaking as the soundtrack is haunting. Every time I've seen it, I've spotted something I didn't see on a previous viewing. It focuses on the way that nature, humanity and technology go together. I bought it with its sequel, Powakatsi, Life in Transformation, which is just as brilliant. I've never seen any films like these before or since, and they are just a compelling watch. Well, for me they are anyway. The last film I want to talk about is 2004's Taking Lives, featuring Angelina Jolie, Ethan Hawke and Keith Sutherland, amongst others. It's an edgy cat and mouse thriller which sees Jolie as an FBI profiler brought in by the French-Canadian police to help them catch a serial killer who takes on the identity of each new victim. It's edge of the seat stuff, and it kept me riveted throughout. The version I have is the director's cut, and the performances of all the actors in the film are just top notch. And so to the final entry into my DVD gems, and that is the second TV series I said I'd share with you. In the 1980s there were a group of comedians who got together and did 39 episodes of what became called The Comic Strip Presents. This group of actors made names for themselves and led the way in a new direction for comedy. Featuring the likes of Dawn French, Rick Mayall, Jennifer Saunders, Adrian Edmondson, Robbie Coltrane and more, this series boasted some of the funniest episodes I've ever seen in a comedy series. Five Go Mad in Dorset was them at their very best, parodying the Enid Blyton characters from her famous 5 Stories. They revived them in the second series opener, which was called Five Go Mad on Mescaline, where they go on an adventure to find their Uncle Quentin, who'd escaped from prison. Each episode featured a different story with names such as A Fistful of Travellers' Checks, Slags and Mr. Jolly Lives Next Door. They were all anarchic and very funny, and I was so pleased to add this box set to my collection. And so there you have it, 10 hidden gems from my DVD collection. Please feel free to let me know your thoughts on any of them. And if you can think of some lesser known recalled gems that I should be checking out, I would love to hear your thoughts. Let me know down below. And if you click up there, I'll tell you what rewatching old TV shows tells us. I'll see you next time.